University student Aaron Perlman appeared in court on Tuesday. He's facing an assault charge for allegedly threatening a classmate with a knife on November 19th. The female student reported that Perlman held a knife to her body and threatened to strangle her, prompting a campus safety alert. Perlman, who has been banned from campus and moved to South Carolina, claimed that he had messages showing the other student had threatened to stab him. His trial date has been set for January 23rd, and he has been appointed a public defender. A Blacksburg man has died after being hit by a police vehicle. 22-year-old Spencer Davis Forsling died early yesterday after he was hit by a Blacksburg police SUV while crossing a street. Virginia State Police have taken over that investigation. And that's your news update from the Virginia Talk Radio Network. I'm Bill Trefiro.
Hey, this is Jake with Western Ways in Forest. Shop our thousands of pairs of boots in store with personalized customer service and excellent pricing. Shop Western Ways this holiday season. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's from our family to yours.
Hi, Danny from Givens Books Little Dickens. We believe in reading and play and in shopping locally for stronger communities. 3 times more jobs are created by local businesses versus online sales. This holiday season, live local and shop local for a better Central Virginia.
I'm Shanola Hampton. Every day, millions of people face hunger. Today, I will share with you some of their experiences. I'm stuck between paying for medications or paying for food. John from Maine. After paying my bills, I can buy groceries. It's sad to say, food comes last. Alice from Oregon. I thought pantries were for less fortunate people. But anybody could be less fortunate in a day or even a second. Claire from Virginia. The Feeding America network of food banks helps provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. No one should have to worry where their next meal will come from. Together, we can end hunger. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Good morning. Time to get ready for your day with the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle. Join us live on VTRN Sports 93.3 FM or the VTRN Sports app. Open VTRN Sports on your smart speaker or stream live on YouTube. Time to get ready for your day with the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle and Ty Tracy.
$7:03 on this Thursday, December 4th. We are now 4 days in December. Welcome back to the morning warm-up. I'm Trey Lyle. That is Ty Tracy lurking over intern Luke's shoulders. Intern Luke, 2 days left on the internship. Emotional?
Hey, I'm getting caught up here.
Getting sappy?
Yeah, my eyes are watering.
Did you enjoy the fast lane yesterday?
Yeah, it was fun. I actually forget who we called. But the morning warm-up got a shout-out. Ty Tracy got a shout-out on the show, on the fast line yesterday.
Did Ty listen to that? No, he's busy. He was working during that time. He works his regular job during that time. But let's get to other stuff that you missed.
Keeping up with sports 24/7 takes some serious effort, especially when you're sleeping. Don't worry, the morning warm-up stays alert around the clock. Now here is everything you missed last night.
Everything you missed last night, starting with just what I think is the funniest coaching search possible. Jeff Brom told Louisville he's staying at Louisville. And Brent Key got an extension from Georgia Tech. So who is going to coach Penn State? Not Ty's guy. Lake's guy, Terry Smith, keeps just one candidate falling by another. So it's too funny not to mention first. But anyways, it's just it's just funny to see how this all played out. Of course, yesterday being signing day, we'll dive more into that. Let's just say good day for the Hokies on the signing day front yesterday. A not good day for Penn State, who finished with I think like the 114th ranked class compared to Virginia Tech's 22nd. Essentially put, Virginia Tech and Penn State swap places, and I think two people signed with Penn State yesterday. So just keep that in mind. Staying in college news, Chris Kleiman announced he was retiring yesterday. The former head coach of Kansas State, and of course, won 4 national championships as a head coach at North Dakota State, 7 total. And he's retiring, and it's kind of clear who his replacement will be. There's this sort of famous quarterback they had that's currently a really good offensive coordinator for a playoff team. That's Colin Klein. By the way, Colin Klein belongs in the that dude Hall of Fame, because Colin Klein at Kansas State, he had obviously Tyler Lockett was that dude. And Luke doesn't even know. Ty, you understood that. You remember Colin Klein at Kansas? He does. Luke, you never got to see Colin Klein at Kansas State.
No, but I know Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, he was that good. Anyways, let's get to the college hoops action last night. So sticking with the ACC SEC Challenge yesterday, good day for the ACC. They went 6-3. Flip it. The SEC had a good day on Wednesday as Arkansas, number 25 Arkansas, defeats number 6 Louisville 89-80. Number 12 Alabama defeats Clemson 90-84. Vandy defeats SMU 88-69. Number 20 Auburn defeats NC State 83-73. LSU defeats Boston College 78-69, and Mississippi State 85, Georgia Tech 73. And then, of course, the one win for the ACC last night, by the way, brings the total to 9 to the SEC, 7 to the ACC, which is leaps and bounds better and than what happened to the ACC last year, where they went 2-14. Again, 9-6, respectable. Probably wanted to win it, but ultimately, I think if you're the ACC, you feel good about it. But their one win last night belonged down in Austin as the Cavaliers, Virginia, now 7-1 on the season, defeated Texas 88-69 in a offensive showcase. It was 46-27 at the half, and so the Cavs cruised to the victory in Austin. This is going to be a good win for them. That's going to age well, especially with the margin of victory that they had. It's a really nice win for Virginia last night. Leading scorer was Chance Mallory, coming off the bench with 16. Jakari Wright throws in 10, and then it was a really good night for Virginia to get a nice win. Both Virginia and Virginia Tech both winning their matchups in the ACC SEC Challenge is huge for them. I would expect Virginia to get some ranking buzz. I believe they are not actually in the others receiving votes. I thought they would be at this point, but they're not yet. But being 7-1 on the year, nice win against Texas. It's been huge for the Virginia Cavaliers to get that win. Of course, Virginia coming off of the loss they had to Butler, obviously got to bounce back against Queens, and then it sets up for a big matchup. I think a matchup that, again, will age well is Dayton. This upcoming on the 6th on Saturday. They should be favored in this one, but they're going to play a Dayton team that will be a contender in the A10, which is, again, I think the best non-P4 basketball conference in America, or P5 basketball conference in America, because there's 5 power leagues in America. So, because the A10, of course, features VCU, who already defeated Virginia Tech this year. They feature Loyola Chicago, feature George Mason, they feature Richmond, they feature St. Joseph's, they feature St. Bonaventure. Obviously, they feature Dayton as well. So, a fun matchup for Virginia this upcoming week in that one. Other scores in the top 25, number 9, BYU defeats Cal Baptist 91-60. Number 10, Iowa State defeats Alcorn State 132-68. And number 22, Minnesota falls in their Big Ten opener or number 22, Indiana falls in their Big Ten opener to Minnesota 73-64 in that one as well. And then we got some Sham stuff yesterday, as he reported that Giannis Antetokounmpo and his agent are exploring. I want to use the right phrasing here because I just simply said he's gone. And his agent, Alex, it's the same agent as Neo, by the way, has started conversations with the Milwaukee Bucks about the two times MVP's future and deciding whether his best fit is somewhere or elsewhere. Sources told ESPN. AK, he also got hurt last night. Yeah, strained calf. So hashtag he gone, and with his strained calf, because countless times we've seen strained calves turn into torn Achilles. He might have not played. He may or may not have played his last game for the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm just saying. But it feels like hashtag he gone. Just saying. But going back to big picture here, SEC ACC Challenge, of course, went on the last couple days. The women's side continues today with Virginia Tech taking on Florida. 4:30 airtime right here on VTRN Sports. So no fast lane today. But on the men's side, for the ACC, just to be competitive in it, 9-7, and keep it close. Keep it close, and it's just leaps and bounds better. That's going to help them well come the NCAA tournament selection, where they're not as lost as they were like last time. So big week for the ACC on that front as well.
I mean, we could say that I think the ACC is way better from last year.
They're actually, yeah,
this year, because
yeah,
like you got to think about last year was terrible. And
was
Duke
probably the worst.
probably for a long time.
Yeah,
So I feel like the ACC's right now is in good shape this year. I think we will see a couple of good teams in NCAA tournament, but that's still a long away right now. So I think everything's in good shape so far, even between the ACC SEC channel.
yep. So looking at yesterday, of course, being National Signing Day, Virginia was able to lock up their class. They finished with the 91th overall class in the country. They do get one 4-star in Derek Uran from Uran, from Ohio, a linebacker. We're able to keep most guys in the boat there as well. We'll talk more about that with Preston Willett in a few minutes, but I do want to highlight what the Hokies did on the recruiting front. They were 120th, I believe is the number, when James Franklin was hired. And they finished with the 22nd overall ranked recruiting class. Get 22 guys to sign. If you they multiple 4-stars. If you look at the composite ranking for Virginia Tech, they finish with 8 4-stars, 15 3-stars, an 88.34 average player ranking, which is the highest in the history of Virginia Tech. Terry Wiggins, Masai Mickens are two names, both flipped from Penn State. Troy Hoon flipped from Penn State. They also have like the nicknames. Davion Brown, a receiver from Trinity Episcopal in Richmond. His nickname was Fat Rat. Yes, that's his nickname. And what is the who is one of these guys' name is Purgatory. The nickname for him is Purgatory is the recruit's name. I'm quickly looking it up because it doesn't say it on the 247's page, which is just absolutely hilarious that that's the guy's nickname is Purgatory. They did flip a guy from JMU, John Patrick Oates, who they list as a linebacker, also was listed as a tight end. So I'm assuming they would want to play him at linebacker. Ultimately, it's a really big class with a lot of A lot of offensive linemen, a lot of defensive linemen, a lot of large humans. They have the number one kicker. Helps that it's John Love's brother and Will Love. Uh, and if you get the same success that uh, John had at Virginia Tech, I think Will do a good job. Roseby Labinovis, his nickname is Purgatory. He's an offensive lineman, and just all time nickname, all time nickname. There's some really good nicknames and names just in this class for Virginia Tech, and you know, Virginia winning on the field, going to play in the ACC championship game, but you know, we talked about that, and why I brought up the Penn State stuff at the start was because of this. This Virginia Tech's fortune is Penn State's demise at this point, where they took advantage of the Franklin stuff, and it it's it's definitely something to keep in mind, that the fact that James Franklin in 2 weeks by himself was able to make a really good class for a really good foundation for Virginia Tech, with lots of offensive linemen, lots of defensive linemen, versatile linebackers, a really good running back, decent wide receivers, and we'll see what happens in the portal. But ultimately put, this was a big step in the right direction for Virginia Tech, and it's definitely something to keep in mind, which we'll talk more about with Andy Bitter in a few moments at around 7:40 today. But first, we do need to talk about the team that actually, is winning on the football field, and that is the Virginia Cavaliers. They got a big win last night on the hardwood in hoops, but they're looking towards Charlotte on Saturday. Game you can catch right here on VTR and Sports, by the way, as the Hoos will take on the Duke Blue Devils in the ACC championship game. We talk about that, what he thought about signing day, and is Chandler Morris really going to get another year of eligibility? We'll talk about that next with Preston Willett from the Sabre, as well as the Who's On podcast, next on the Morning Warm Up.
Hey folks, Mark Dalton here with Terry Subaru. It's that time of year again for the Subaru Share the Love event. That's when we donate $325 for every new Subaru we sell from now through January 2nd. This donation goes to 5 well-deserving charities like Meals on Wheels, the ASPCA, the National Parks Foundation, Make-A-Wish, or our local charity, the Lynchburg Humane Society. So come take advantage of some fantastic year-end deals at Terry Subaru and help us share the love.
Hi, Danny from Gibbons Books Little Dickens. We believe in reading and play and in shopping locally for stronger communities. 3 times more jobs are created by local businesses versus online sales. This holiday season, live local and shop local for a better Central Virginia.
Hey, this is Jake with Western Ways in Forest. Shop our thousands of pairs of boots in store with personalized customer service and excellent pricing. Shop Western Ways this holiday season. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's from our family to yours.
Hi, I'm Randy Trost with Trost Law. We've seen a lot since 1982. One new issue is an increasing number of uninsured drivers. Unfortunately, when these drivers are at fault for an accident, there's a higher likelihood that they'll flee from the scene, leaving you with a potential mess. So in shopping for your auto insurance policy, please keep in mind that strong, uninsured motorist coverage can protect you from this headache. And if you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident, call us at 777-HURT and visit trostlaw.com.
Want an outdoor oasis? The Concrete Wizard can restore and revitalize your pool deck or patio. After the Concrete Wizard works the magic, your old, tired concrete will look new again. For pool decks, the Concrete Wizard can install a safe, innovative rubber surfacing option that's slip-resistant, soft, and easy on the feet. A great choice for families and anyone concerned about safety. Visit theconcretewizard.com for some ideas, then contact them today for a free consultation to create your perfect outdoor oasis. All roads lead to the 2025 ACC Football Championship game this Saturday, December 6th at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Virginia takes on Duke with college football playoff implications on the line. It's a primetime showdown to crown the ACC champion. Tickets are on sale now, and a full weekend of activities at Uptown Charlotte features a free concert with Grammy Award-winning artist Rick Ross. Purchase your tickets now at theacc.com. That's theacc.com. The ACC champion will be crowned in Charlotte. Make sure you're there.
Good morning. We are just getting your day started here on VTRN Sports with the morning warm-up. Stay connected with the show at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen wherever you are with the VTRN Sports app or watch the show live on YouTube at youtube.com/VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, back to the morning warm-up.
7:20 on this Thursday. It is Thursday, right? Yeah, it is. Days of the week. I mean, Thanksgiving throws you off because you're off for 3 days or 2.5 days, and it throws you off. And so a man who probably doesn't even know what day it is as well is Preston Willett. Preston, glad to have you join us, of course, with the Saber and the Who's On podcast. Good morning. This has probably been a busy time because the calendar in college athletics decides to just jam as much as they can into a week and a half between last week, the final week of the regular season, signing day, and then obviously an ACC championship game. Throw in the ACC SEC challenge. How have you been able to manage this past week and a half in terms of staying on track with everything that's going on?
Just a couple minutes of sleep at a time, Trey. It's been a wild week. I don't know what we have to do to change this college football calendar, but yeah, signing day in the middle of conference championship week never made sense, especially because you think about next week. What's going on next week? Like nothing. Everyone's off next week, pretty much. I know you got Army, Navy, and everything, but I think we could figure something out with this at least. That there's much bigger problems in the college football calendar, but we could figure this one out.
Yeah, moving it 1 week seems appropriate. And maybe these teams that are in the conference championship games are afraid they'll poach, like have their players poach while they're who knows. It just seems overcomplicated. That's everything in college athletics. It seems like let's start with working backwards. A pretty dominant performance on Saturday night. I think you could talk about Virginia Tech being offensively inept is probably a better way to put it. But it just felt like how did it feel being there? That it just seemed to me that the best way I could describe Virginia's performance on Saturday, where they probably struggled offensively for the start of the game, it was just workmanlike. They got their job done. They got the win. They handled business, and now they can focus on heading to Charlotte to take on at 1 point SMU, 1 point Duke, 1 point SMU watching the Cal SMU game. But ultimately handled their business on Saturday. It felt like that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to describe it. I mean, this is what should have happened. I think a lot of people, around Virginia were thinking, okay, maybe that's not what's going to happen. Virginia was a clearly better football team this season than Virginia Tech. That was, never in doubt. The question was, all right, is there going to be any kind of Commonwealth Cup voodoo that's going to happen in this game where, Virginia kind of shoots themselves in the foot? And I think from the very get-go, you never saw that was ever going to be a thing because, I mean, Virginia Tech brings the opening kickoff out of the back of the end zone and gets tackled at the 6-yard line. You're like, okay, well, that's a good start. And then they throw the interception to Maddox Marcellus, and then they get a touchdown on their first drive. So it was always like, all right, well, this seems like this should be what's happening. And that's what Virginia did. And, defensively, they've been great in the second half of the season. I don't think Virginia Tech really threw anything different at them other than Kyron Drones picking up a few first downs with his legs. And other than that, Tech, missing, Marcellus Hawkins, missing Aiden Green, their top two playmakers on offense. I think it was pretty safe to say that Virginia was head and shoulders above Virginia Tech that day. And that's just what showed on the field, which hasn't always been the case in this rivalry.
Yeah, it just felt like as soon as when there was a lot of tension in the even watching it just felt like there was a lot of tension at the start, and then Virginia Tech makes a special teams error at the start of the game and they're starting the ball at the 6, and it felt like instantly all the tension came out of the room. Am I, you were there, is that kind of a good assessment of how, just because of the way the game started, it felt like Virginia got to settle in to the game a lot quicker than maybe a lot of people expected?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. The air just kind of got let out. And so it was like, okay, like this is just a football game now, and Virginia's won 9 of those going into this, and now 10 of those this season. Like they know how to win football games. It was just, can they win this one? And I think as soon as some of those early miscues by Tech happened, and Virginia was able to capitalize on them, scoring on that first drive, and they didn't have a great offensive performance, but I thought it was solid overall, and they were able just to kind of do what they needed to win this game. And then you get to the fourth quarter, and it's like, all right, well, this one's over. So like kind of cruise to victory here. I I always joke, like I haven't been able to go down to the field early this entire season because Virginia's been in so many tight games. But I went down with like about 6-7 minutes left in this game and watched the rest from down there. And that's just how relaxed everything felt. And then even to the quote unquote field storm at the end, like fans were orderly walking onto the field after Tech mostly had left the field, just because it was kind of like an orderly win for Virginia.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend an instant field storm beating a 3 and whatever team. Just
Yeah.
in general, even if it's
That's
a big rival, I would not recommend that, especially if you have to pay $50,000 beating a
Yeah.
top 10 Florida State team, even though that Florida State team turned out to be what we saw. That I think is worth the 50 grand to storm the field. Uh, moving to the matchup against Duke, which we could spend a whole hour talking about how dumb it is that Duke is in this game because of dumb tiebreakers, where we know probably the two best teams in the ACC are Miami and Virginia at this point. And, I think it was like Clemson versus Louisville because Louisville missed 2 field goals with 2 minutes left, and then a couple other results that just like flipped the other way. And then SMU just, you know, somehow making a miraculous comeback, but still losing to Cal. You could we again all day, but the opponent is Duke, 7-5 Duke. They played week 8. Virginia dominated that game. I still would argue that's their best performance of the season. How confident do you think this Virginia team is facing an opponent in which you were able to handle? Granted, this is the second time playing them, but you were able to handle them, not just handle them, but handle them on the road in Durham. This feels like kind of a you know, perfect storm where Virginia is going to cap off this historic season with a historic win in Charlotte.
Yeah, look, Virginia was up 31-3 heading into the fourth quarter in that game, and Duke scores, 2 touchdowns late there in the fourth quarter when Virginia kind of let their foot up off the gas. And that gave a great coaching moment for Tony Elliott, who chewed the team out for letting up a little bit. But I think still at the same time, like Virginia had a great game plan in this one, but Duke just didn't play that well offensively. That explosive offense that we've seen from the Blue Devils this year just was kind of tame. Darian Mensah didn't really do much. Their top receiver didn't really have a catch until late in the game. So I would expect a better effort out of Duke down in Charlotte, just because they were kind of listless offensively, and that was against a Virginia defense like they will face on Saturday that didn't have Cam Robinson, their best defensive player, because he got hurt on the first drive of that game. So what we saw with this Virginia defense against Virginia Tech is also a good indication that, okay, I think they could be okay without Cam Robinson. They may not get the game-changing pick sixes or the game-winning safety, but I think they can survive without Cam Robinson because Maddox Marcellus is, stepping in and capably holding down that fort. But, they always say it's hard to beat a team twice in the season, so I wouldn't expect the same kind of resounding result down in Charlotte, and I think that's why I don't know what it is up to now, but it was like a 2.5 point favorite for Virginia going into this one.
Yeah, I think it's like 2.5, 3.5 point favorite for the Cavaliers down in Charlotte, against Virginia. It's a matchup where defensively, you mentioned it, like these are two of, you could argue, the two best quarterbacks in the conference. I think Chandler Morris, Darian Mensah, like the challenges that Duke present, and let's face it, the most Go ACC thing is Duke winning this game. Like the most after the Go ACC moment of Duke getting in is Duke winning this game, and we have a debate between Duke and JMU for the final college football playoff spot. Like ultimately put, the challenges are still the same the last time these two teams played, but like Duke defensively has let go of the rope a bit through the back half of the season, but offensively, this is still one of the best offenses in the conference.
Yeah, and I think what Virginia did well against Darian Mensah last time is he ran for a couple yards, but you can get pressure on him back there in the pocket. And I think if you kind of hold him back there, Virginia's pass rushers, which is one of the best pass rushes in the ACC, guys like Mitchell Melton, Daniel Rickert, Fisher Kamak, they can get back there and bother Darian Mensah. So if they're able to do that again, I think that'll be huge for the defense. The secondary was probably the best part of that game because they were deflecting passes left and right in that game. So you're like, maybe that returns the median a little bit. Maybe Mensah completes a little bit more of those passes downfield against the secondary. Maybe they don't deflect every pass that gets thrown 30 yards down the field. So I think that's probably the biggest thing you're looking at there. On the flip side, defensively, like you mentioned, like this Duke defense has kind of become a little listless, and their big strategy last time was to load up the box, kind of similar to what Virginia Tech did against UVA. But UVA's found ways around that to kind of throw over the loaded box and throw some passes down the field. Jamari Taylor still going to rip off yards even against a loaded box. So I think they figured that out. The one question mark is Virginia not going to have their starting left tackle and all ACC player, Mikhail Boley, in this one. He suffered an ankle injury against Virginia Tech. So does Manny Diaz, who's a good defensive coach. So that's kind of why it's surprising Duke hasn't been good defensively. Do they try to attack him a lot more on that left side? And I'm sure they will.
Here with Preston Willett from the Saber as well as the Who's On podcast. Preston, let's move on to the next part of football, which was signing day. Obviously, that was yesterday because this calendar never stops. You look at this class, and they mentioned on the broadcast for Virginia Tech how Virginia has, I think, the most graduate and seniors starting for them, or they're up there. I know, like, the entire, all 11 starters on offense are either a senior or a graduate. What do you think was the focus of this class? I know they got a lot of, some talented in there, and obviously they'll probably be hitting the portal again. But what was kind of the focus of this recruiting class for Tony Elliott?
Yeah, so 14 players, smallest class in Tony Elliott's era, I think tied for the smallest. And not a ton of big name talent. So obviously, I think winning on the field, that's going to show up in future recruiting classes, going into 2027 and so forth. But this class was going to be smaller no matter what, because Virginia is looking at that 105 player roster limit that's coming up. And you mentioned, I think it was 56 players walked out there for senior day against Virginia Tech. Well, I mean, I got news. About half of those guys still have eligibility, if not more. And that's why I don't understand senior day in this current climate in college football, because it's like, all right, we'll just see these guys again next year. I mean, Antonio Clary, he is done. He's played his 7 years, but he was complaining that he had to go out there and do senior day again because he's already done it like 3 times. But that's kind of where we are in college football, is like we keep doing all these senior days. But yeah, like I asked Tony Elliott yesterday because this has been a rumor that's started to go around. Chandler Morris, who's played 6 years of college football already, still might have another year of eligibility out there. And if you look at the math, like it kind of makes sense because 2020 was a COVID year. He had a redshirt year in 2021. In 2022, he missed the majority of the season with an injury. So there's a case. I'm not saying it's likely. And Tony Elliott said they're not currently planning to have Morris back next year, but they're going to look down every route. And I mean, if you get Morris back and you can kind of go from there, you don't have to pay the big money in the portal to go after a quarterback. You can kind of supplement. They're going to have to look at a running back. They're going to have to look at some receivers and offensive line and whatever else. But yeah, I think this is always, Tony's figured out, like, I can't just recruit a bunch of 30 freshmen every year. I got to have like a balance with the transfer portal as well, especially with how well they have hit in the transfer portal over the last few years.
Yeah, you talk about the guys who had senior day and come back. I've given up on guessing if you have eligibility or not at this
Yeah.
point. Like, I've legitimately given up. I'm like, "Oh, this is a good addition. I'll keep a note of it." And then I look at the roster at the end of the year and I'm like, "Okay, this is," but at the end of spring now, and I'm like, "Okay, this is what the team looks like." That is the philosophy I've taken in this new era. You talk about striking that balance. It seemed to me like at first, I know Tony Elliott tried to honor as many people they could that was on scholarship with Bronco Mendenhall, and obviously he's had a lot of hurdles to go through in terms of building this roster up. And then this past year, they went transfer portal heavy to try to quickly flip this roster, inject talent into it. But going forward, I think the counterpart in Blacksburg, who just had a big recruiting day yesterday, was James Franklin. But both of them, both Franklin and Elliott, I think have a similar philosophy of supplementing with the portal. And I think Tony Elliott doesn't take the philosophy of his quote unquote mentor to Dabo Sweeney, and doesn't in terms of portal use. But what type of balance should you expect from Tony Elliott in terms of the portal going forward, where there are key players on this team, assuming, waivers don't get granted, aka Chandler Morris, or even if the waiver does get granted, does Morris transfer? He could do that too. I'm not, and I don't think he would. But what type of balance do you expect, and what areas do you expect them to target mainly in the portal?
Yeah, this is something that Tony's kind of done a 360 on. I think early on he was a little bit more towards that Dabo Sweeney side and didn't want to go heavy in the transfer portal. Wanted to build. He calls it building through the draft, the high school recruiting class, and that's why I think you saw that early on. But I think this year really opened his eyes to, okay, you can build a good culture, a good team, guys with a lot of buy-in through the transfer portal if you have some guys that have been there already through the years that this Virginia team had. Like, we always talk about, oh, they spent all the money in the transfer portal. Well, they still had a good nucleus of guys that have been in the program for a while. Guys like James Jackson at linebacker, Mikhail Boley, Noah Josie, Antonio Clary, Jameer Carter, like the list goes on. Cam Robinson. They've had it's not all just transfer guys making plays out there. There's a lot of them. I think going into this game against Duke, I think 12 of the starters came in through the transfer portal last year out of the 22 on the offense and defense. So obviously that's a huge part of it. So I think he wants to strike more of a 50-50, high school and transfer portal going forward. And you saw 14 guys come in through the high school ranks. I think they might bring in anywhere from 15 to 20 guys in the transfer portal. So about the same 50-50 just abouts. And it's going to depend hugely on what players use that extra year, what players come back. I think that's going to be the biggest kind of determinant there on how deep they go into the transfer portal. Look, quarterback is going to be one that they have to go for if Chandler Morris is not back. They need a veteran guy. Daniel Kalen, who I think has shown some promise as a backup quarterback, just might not be fully ready for that starting job. Running back is something that, Tony admitted yesterday that they're going to have to go look for one or two guys because they have some guys coming back that they really like. But guys like Xavier Brown, Noah Vaughn have been injured for most of the year. Xavier Brown's out right now with an ACL injury. Noah Vaughn's been battling an ankle injury all year. So, you want to supplement that. And then defensively, there's a lot of veterans on that defensive line. So, they'll probably have to look there. Secondary, they might have to look there. So he said they won't have those conversations in full until probably about next week, just because they're preparing for an ACC championship right now. But they're going to be actively involved yet again in the portal.
Yeah, they definitely have not had any tampering conversation. It's never in college football. They don't go on right during the season or something like that. No. We're here with Preston Willett at Preston Willett on Twitter, writer for the Saber, and of course the host of the Who's On podcast. Quickly about hoops. I know obviously part of the focus is on football right now. Basketball, probably not used to that considering the success of the basketball program. But basketball is a 7-1 start. They're off to a good start. Nice win last night against Texas. So first part, how important was it to get that win against Texas for Virginia? And then let's look bigger picture because the ACC, even though they technically lose the ACC SEC challenge, but it was only 9-7, way better than what 2-14 like last year. How big was it for Virginia to get the win in Austin for themselves, and then bigger picture? It seems like the ACC had a pretty successful ACC SEC challenge, despite losing it technically, especially compared to last year.
Yeah, look, I'm a little groggy this morning because I did stay up and watch that game last night. I thought it was the most impressive performance to date for this Virginia team. To go on the road and beat an SEC opponent by 19 points, that's no small feat. I think it was probably the most impressive win by an ACC team in this ACC SEC challenge. Maybe Syracuse getting the win over Tennessee the other night, but just the complete dominance. I think they moved all the way up from like the 40s or whatever to number 24 in the net rankings just with that win. And that's what it does is, you get a big win on the road against a Power 4 opponent, you move up in those rankings, which is only going to be better for you come, NCAA tournament talk later in the season. I think what we saw in that game for Virginia, and then I'll talk about the ACC, is this team's going to shoot a lot of threes. That's what it looks like when they hit a lot of their threes, is they just blow opponents out. And that's kind of what I've been waiting to see all season. They brought in a lot of shooting. It's just we've been waiting to see, is it all going to click? Are they actually going to make these shots? Because they're taking some of the most three-pointers in the country this year. So they finally started to click. But for the ACC, yeah, much better showing. I mean, you can't get much worse than last year, 14-2, losing 14-2 in the ACC SEC Challenge. So much better showing. I am interested in how they determine the matchups in this, though, because especially on Wednesday night, like it was pretty glaring. Like for ACC teams had, I think, 2 out of 8 home games last night. Like that, it was just kind of a crazy imbalance. And then some of the matchups you look at, like, I don't know if like those two teams should have been facing off against each other. And then Cal, who gets left out of this, has been one of the better teams in the ACC this year. Why aren't they in it? Why do we have to see Boston College playing the ACC SEC Challenge, or Georgia Tech for that matter? I know they kind of do it based off of last year's results, but it just seems like, there's, a little bit left on the bone for the ACC. I was shocked that Louisville lost as bad as they did. Never really felt like they were in that game against Arkansas. NC State, I thought, maybe they had a chance on the road at Auburn, but they couldn't get it done either. So I think the ACC has improved greatly, and I think the SEC has also not as good as they were last year, which was a historic season for the SEC. So no shame on them for not being that good.
A 2025 take. Cal could be a great representative for the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Just saying.
And you know what? I don't know if I necessarily don't disagree with you. At Preston Willett on Twitter. Preston, I appreciate the time this morning. I know pretty busy morning for you, busy time for you. Safe travel down to Charlotte, and hope you enjoy the week. And maybe you're heading to we'll speculate Oxford. We'll say Oxford,
yeah.
Mississippi, maybe. If they get the win, to see the Pete Golding era down in at Ole Miss. So thanks so much, man.
Yeah, how delicious would that be? All right, yeah, thanks, Trey.
When we come back, we'll get the tech side of things on the signing day. Big day for the Hokies in the recruiting sphere. So we'll talk about that with Andy Bitter, techsideline.com, next on the Morning Warm-Up.
It's the final countdown to savings during the Red Tag year-end sales event at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. Holiday savings have started, and this is your last chance to save. Shop local and save more with straightforward pricing, plus exceptional service and selection. Stop the search. Head to the Motor Mile for over 900 pre-owned vehicles to choose from, and a huge selection of new car brands in Southwest Virginia. Honda, Hyundai, Toyota, Subaru, Kia, Chevrolet, Mitsubishi, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. 11 new car brands, 900 used vehicles, all in one location. The Sheeler Motor Mile gives you choices more than any other dealer in the area. Sheeler owns the finance company. We make it easy to buy with in-house financing. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume. 11 new car brands, over 900 used vehicles, all in one location. Our biggest sale of the year is here. The Red Tag year-end sales event at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com. But hurry, this sale ends when the new year begins.
This holiday season, take a step back in time to the heart of the 1940s. Join us at Cedar Oaks Farm in Bedford, Virginia for The Christmas List, a World War II era radio play recorded live to benefit the National Center for Healthy Veterans. Experience the story of the Bedford boys and their last Christmas before shipping out to serve their country. A moving night of laughter, love, and the true spirit of Christmas, featuring live music, classic sound effects, and a full cast performing just like the golden days of radio.
Jing-a-ling, 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 the night is made for sweet romancing. Ha! Ho! Through the snow we go.
Performances are December 12th and 13th at 7 p.m. and December 14th at 2 p.m. Tickets are on sale now at cedaroaksfarm.com, with proceeds benefiting the National Center for Healthy Veterans. Come share a nostalgic Christmas at Cedar Oaks Farm, where memories, music, and history come alive.
Aquatrek Adventures would like to wish all of our dive friends and family Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and a wonderful holiday season. When you're ready for your first or next diving adventure, stop by and see us at Aquatrek Adventures, 30 Mill Lane in Salem.
Ed Lane from the Fast Lane, your local sports talk show that covers the Commonwealth and apparently every holiday. Season's greetings, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Kwanzaa, plus Happy New Year from the Fast Lane on VTRN Sports. All roads lead to the 2025 ACC Football Championship game this Saturday, December 6th at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Virginia takes on Duke with college football playoff implications on the line. It's a primetime showdown to crown the ACC champion. Tickets are on sale now, and a full weekend of activities in Uptown Charlotte features a free concert with Grammy Award-winning artist Rick Ross. Purchase your tickets now at theacc.com. That's theacc.com. The ACC champion will be crowned in Charlotte. Make sure you're there. After earning the Region 4D championship, Jefferson Forest Cavaliers football, presented by Trostball.com, heads to the state semifinals this Saturday, December 6th. Your Central VA floor and kickoff show begins at 1:30 for JF at the Varina Blue Devils. Join us on the Virginia's Talk Station app, 100.9 FM Lynchburg, 95.5 FM Bedford, and Open Virginia Talk Radio Network on your smart speaker. JF Football is also presented by the Concrete Wizard, Impact Church, Clyde Smith Plumbing, Apple Auto Glass, and Magic City Chrysler Dodge Jeep Brand Bedford.
Good morning. We are just getting your day started here on VTRN Sports with the morning warm-up. Stay connected with the show at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen wherever you are with the VTRN Sports app, or watch the show live on YouTube at youtube.com/VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, back to the morning warm-up.
7:48 on this Thursday, December 4th. Welcome back to the morning warm-up. Joining us now, a man who got to enjoy some cookies yesterday, I believe, at Andy Bitter VT, AndyBitterTechSideline.com. Andy, he did deny this, that he was trying to connect, in terms of connecting the dots on the crumble cookies that were just so happened to be on the table during National Signing Day ceremony. First off, were you able to enjoy a cookie? And two, do you fully believe that it was just a coincidence that crumble cookie was the dessert of choice?
I had part of one. Those cookies are enormous. I think I had half of one. It was probably still like 1,200 calories there. It seemed a little too prominent to be coincidental in my eyes. I don't know. Plausible deniability on James Franklin's part, but they had like a big display in the front, and then those cookies were on like every single table in that place. So I don't know. But it's one of those fun little college football things that, like, if it was intentional, like, I'd play it up. That's kind of funny, in my opinion.
Obviously, the comparisons to Penn State are going to be plentiful with everything that's going on around that program, and maybe the crumble cookie thing is kind of emblematic of it. Overall, considering the gains that Virginia Tech made in the signing day versus the counterpart at Penn State, who will be the comparison, right or wrong, going forward for Virginia Tech and in particular James Franklin, how big of a day was it yesterday, considering just kind of the upward momentum that has happened over these last 2 weeks in terms of talent infusion?
I mean, they switched spots in the rankings. And Virginia Tech was down where Penn State ended up yesterday, a couple weeks ago. That's basically because James Franklin took the entire class with him, coming to Virginia Tech. And, if you're hiring a coach like this who's recruited a class and has these relationships with these guys, you'd hope that would be the case if you're the new school, that you could pluck a couple of these guys. I didn't think he'd get all of them or nearly all of them. I think one ended up staying at Penn State here, but that's the name of the game these days. Who can you bring with you when you get hired as the head coach with the player movement? That's what you got to do. That's your new job. That's who you're going to try to recruit to. And, Virginia Tech is the beneficiary in this whole thing.
Looking at this recruiting class, it's one of the highest rated, I think the highest rated in terms of average recruit in the history of Virginia Tech. They jumped to number 22 overall. They increased their blue chip ratio by one of the largest margins in all of it. But one of the biggest things, and you mentioned it on the latest episode recapping signing day, was the size, the just actual large human size that they infused in this roster. It seems to me from the jump that, clearly James Franklin is taking lessons he learned at Penn State and saying big people are better than little people. And it seems to me that was a main focus of this class.
I don't know if they're saying that they're better, but they certainly are in more short supply. And you look at Brett Pry's time here at Virginia Tech, and really what more than anything else, quarterback play, one thing, but what more than anything else undercuts his success here? And I think it was the offensive line. He never really got that group right. Maybe for part of the season in 2024, and then they couldn't retain anybody the next year. They're starting over on the offensive line. That's a tough group to rebuild on. Year to year like that, you need to have some guys that you can develop, and you need to have a good number of guys because you're going to have some attrition there. That's a position that you see a lot of busts, a lot of guys that just don't pan out, a lot of injuries because they're playing in there. They're getting nicked up and bounced around all the time. So you need to have a large number of large humans. And, 7 guys they signed on the offensive line this year, 3 on the defensive line. I think that's going to be a focus every single year in this program.
And the fact that he got this done, essentially, I know he had obviously Andy Frank, Michael Hazel, both are kind of highly praised in the recruiting spheres, but coaching wise, he was the only coach. I mean, he even said in the press conference yesterday, like, players asked him who the tight end coach would be, and he's like, I don't know, but you need to trust me. And looking at what he did, and you look at the footprint, I know the talent or like the class in Pennsylvania next year is supposed to be one of the best ever. The Virginia, the talent that's in Virginia, is this just like, if this is just a starting point, where would you put the ceiling for Virginia Tech in terms of recruiting?
That's the thing. Is he did all this with a skeleton staff, no assistant coaches with him, no like scheme that he can point to. Obviously, he probably had an idea of what he wanted to do. And he did it in 17 days. And you go, well, what could this guy do with a full year and a full staff behind him and a little bit more of a head start going into a recruiting class? I think it opens up all sorts of possibilities for Hokies fans to dare to dream about what their recruiting class could get up to in the rankings. And, historically, that's never really been how Virginia Tech's operated. Like, they've been in the low 20s sometimes. I think, the height of the Frank Beamer era, they got into the teens once or twice. But they've never just gone and just recruited like one of these big boy schools out there. All of a sudden, I think they have the potential to do that this year or in future years. And, if there's the financial backing behind it, which you need in this day and age in NIL, and you have a coach that can go out and be this sort of dynamic personality on the recruiting trail, I think all of a sudden it's possible that the Tech can get some of these really highly ranked classes and be an interesting sort of, you even mentioned at the beginning of the on the show here, blue chip ratio. You never would have thought Virginia Tech could win like that just by accumulating sheer talent. And all of a sudden, I think maybe that's possible.
A fun part of this class is we have some interesting names: Messiah, Fat Rat, Purgatory. Has the prep begun on how you're going to address all these guys going forward?
Yeah, I certainly want to ask Purgatory where that nickname comes from. Fat Rat, that's another one. Just tell me about that. How do you get to be called Fat Rat over time? I don't know how to address these guys though. Probably by first names. I think that's usually the typical way to do it.
I guess it's a good sign that they already got nicknames that they're rolling with. Of course, that I'm referring to Fat Rat Davion Brown, the receiver from Trinity, uh, as one of them. It, it seems to me with James Franklin, like looking ahead to now, the next part of this is getting a coaching staff. Obviously, things need to happen with the Penn State coaching search. I don't think James Franklin is going to wait for them to make a decision in terms of getting the coaches he wants from there, like an Anthony Poindexter, for example. Even trying to get Terry Smith, who could end up being their next head coach. He could have some sort of like agreement in place unless he gets the job. What are your expectations for this coaching search? Are there any names you think of that can watch both for the main coordinator positions? How quickly do you think the staff is going to come together over these next couple of weeks?
I mean, I think some of it happens pretty quickly here. I don't really know what direction he's going in coordinator wise. He's gone out and he's made some big swings in the past. Jim Knowles coming in from last year obviously didn't work as well as they'd hoped, but they've gone after big name coordinators like that before. Offensively, he's tried all sorts of guys from all sorts of places. Andy Kotelnicki, I think was the last one. He brought him in from Kansas after some success there. I would imagine they're probably not going in that direction again because they didn't have much success offensively, and that's part of the reason why he's not the head coach at Penn State right now. But it's tough for me to put a finger on what direction he wants to go. We'll see in these upcoming couple days. But like you mentioned, I think Penn State's situation might affect some of the staffing. So I imagine he wants to bring some of those guys with, but if they have a better opportunity to be a head coach in Terry Smith's case, or possibly a coordinator in Poindexter's case, and I don't necessarily know if that would be the case if he came to Virginia Tech, might be something interesting to watch here and how it comes out. And we'll see how these couple days play out. The Penn State thing is still just sort of messing up with everything. It's kind of a fun car crash to watch from afar.
If Anthony Poindexter comes, and one of the Anthony Poindexter's strengths is recruiting, would it be ironic that you could argue outside of obviously James Franklin, and assuming I know you assume that Fontel Mines is pretty confirmed as staying, or at least will be one of the options that's staying. It could possibly be like the two of the best recruiters for Virginia Tech are Virginia grads. Is that just kind of how it is now?
That would be an interesting dynamic. If UVA didn't just win the ACC, I'm sure it would drive UVA fans nuts. It didn't win the ACC, but go to the ACC title game. You know what I mean? I think that's just sort of what it is these days. And, you go where the jobs are. This is where the jobs are. This is where the relationships have existed in the past. And these coaches can switch the colors real quick. The kind of school that they're talking up, and this is home here, and I really like this place. And it can change very quickly based on where your paycheck's coming from.
Here with Andy Bitter on VTRN Sports 93.3 FM, W227BG Timberlake, 1320 AM, WVGM Lynchburg, WMNA Gretna Southside, going a little overtime today at Andy Bitter VT, TechSideline.com. Andy, the next step after this coaching staff is the transfer portal. Obviously, we would assume a massive flip of the roster. James Franklin has basically insinuated that. Ultimately put, I don't know if you would know names. Obviously, I speculated Colton Joseph, who has entered the portal, would be someone that James Franklin obviously got an up close and personal view of him. But ultimately, it feels like quarterback, offensive line, edge, maybe some skill positions, especially receiver, are the key positions to look out for when it comes to the portal in the next couple of weeks, starting in January.
Yeah, I think it's everything. I don't think you look at this roster and see a 3-9 team and go, we're set there, right? I mean, this is a team that needs a total upgrade. And yes, this recruiting class yesterday was great. Those are all still true freshmen coming in. And historically, it's tough for true freshmen to come in and make a huge impact in their first year. And if they are, they're still pretty raw players. So there's tons of experience that's going to be available on this transfer portal. I would imagine quarterback is a high priority because I don't really see the starting quarterback on next year's team currently on the team. But, you got to shore up some offensive line spots, some receiver spots as well. I think running back might be a spot they're okay at. Don't necessarily have to add there. But defensively, I think all three levels, you could probably add players there. And, with the way the game is, I think it's going to be 20-plus guys again that they bring in. And, a lot of NIL money being thrown around to find some instant starters. And that's just kind of the name of the game these days.
At Andy Bitter VT. Andy, I know this is, a busy time of the year. And luckily, no bowl game this year to worry about. So don't have to head down to Shreveport or Charlotte or El Paso. But I do appreciate the time this morning. And I know yesterday was a long one, so appreciate the time.
All right. Thanks for having me.
That will do it for us today. Tomorrow, we'll be joined. We'll hopefully get Sam on to our final pick segment. Luke has eliminated himself because he decided not to fill out the form the last 2 weeks, but it is his final day tomorrow. So we're going to pick all the conference championship games as well as some NFL tomorrow on the morning warm-up. So now, Tone Sportsmanlike already in progress.
Check it.
I don't check it.
You have. Oh.
No. Am I supposed to? Like, is it like a rule? You're supposed to? No, it's pretty small.